Yield. The gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Brecheen, is recognized for 5 minutes for question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you all being here today. There's no doubt this is a crisis. Just in Oklahoma alone, the state that I'm a representative for, we've seen a 735% increase in fentanyl deaths, and that has occurred from 2018 to 2022. 326 deaths in 2022 in Oklahoma. In 2018, it was 39. And I think probably every member of this committee has some personal point of contact with somebody that they know of who has lost their life or has a direct connection. It's really sad. I guess what I want to zero in on, and I'll open this up to anyone, if 6 out of the 10 pills that you all are looking at, one of your testimonies a minute ago, are containing lethal overdose elements to the point that you take it unsuspectingly, it can kill you. Why are they doing that? There's an addictive element, right? They're trying to use the addictive element, 10 cents to make and $10 to $30 sold, massive increase in profit. So I'd be interested in some comments if you can help bring about why they are enabling such a lethal concoction in their pills.
Congressman, I can start and then I can turn it over to my colleagues. I think the first thing is that that our image of these drug producers and traffickers, I think traditionally has been that they're evildoers who are out to hurt people, when in reality, they are disinterested business people who really only want a few things. They want to lower their production cost. They want to lower their risk of detection and interdiction. They want to increase their customer base and increase their profits. And in a mechanism to do that is to provide the drug user an experience that they did not expect. And this is what we saw back in 2015 when we started to see synthetic opioids like fentanyl introduced into the heroin supply chain. And this was the door that opened this up for the United States. What it did, it provided the individual a qualitative effect that they did not expect, and it was used as kind of a branding. Because these things are so potent and because they are so potentially lethal, a milligram in the wrong direction will take you from having a qualitative experience that you didn't expect to an overdose death. And in a lot of cases, these things are not uniformly mixed and they're not done well, and it's a lot of cross-contamination that actually leads to the overdose death. The last thing I'll tell you is, in a lot of cases, the unwitting user who may not have an active substance use disorder or does not intend to take fentanyl gets it in another counterfeit pill that they did not expect, like Xanax or Adderall or something like that. This is done in the interest of making money with a casual disinterest as to whether people are harmed or not.
So I want to pivot because I think somebody else maybe on the panel can answer this. Are you seeing it utilized as a revenge element? So you're saying that there's nothing that's in this more than profit margin, but there's an evil intent that can lead to murder purposefully. In your investigations, are you seeing that?
Sir, I can jump in. So the answer is yes. We have evidence in some of the previous cases I mentioned where the cartels knew that there was deadly fentanyl. The amount of fentanyl that they were sending to the U.S. was deadly because they tested it on human beings in Mexico, and they still sent it anyway. As Mr. Chester was saying, these are not mixed in labs. They're not sterile situations. And we've seen pills with less than 1 milligram of fentanyl all the way up to 8 milligrams of fentanyl. The average dose is 2.4 milligrams, and 2 milligrams is considered a potentially deadly dose.
In regards to human trafficking, Sound of Freedom is a movie that's getting a lot of attention right now nationally, and you can sell a drug one time. Commonly being discussed is the human trafficking element that you can sell an individual multiple times. What are you seeing with the human traffic in all of your investigations? Where are you seeing the overlap with those that are engaged in human trafficking, prostitution, also alongside the fentanyl trade?
Thank you for the question, sir. So historically, we had seen the transnational criminal was focused on narcotics. We're solely focused on narcotics. They would charge a PISO or a tax for migrants to cross. At the beginning of COVID, where we started to see some of the closures at the ports of entry for non-essential travel, we started to see those criminal groups become more involved in the process holistically. So it wasn't just a couple $100 tax, it was a multi-$1,000 program to move them throughout the whole chain. That's what we've continued to see, is that control of the plazas along the border, and now that full-scale facilitation from start to finish.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd allow, if anybody else has any, I know my time's expired. Does anybody else have any comments on that?
I can draw this distinction a little bit between the human smuggling and human trafficking aspect, which I think is where your question was going. We don't see a direct link between your large-scale criminal organizations that are operating and moving people trafficking-wise, human trafficking-wise across the border, like the transnational criminal organizations. A lot of those folks are already here. People are smuggled into the United States, and then once in the United States, transnational or organizations prey on vulnerable populations, and that's when they're turned into trafficking victims.
Thank you.
Gentleman yields.